And here we go. Who is going to get things going by winning the die roll? That's a 4, respectable. But will it be enough? Wait, that's a 4 and the other one gets a roll of 2? Okay, oh, it was an 8?
Yeah, so I think that Charalampos is supposed to go first here, and that is usually a good thing for Labyrinth decks. Let's take a look-see at those hands of both players. There is, of course, a high price on those Labyrinth cards, because Lovely and the Lady, they are costing a bunch of points, just like the welcome
and let me tell you then, that means that we're just not going to play the Lady at all. 0 ladies in this deck. But there is the perfect start, I want to say, as we find one of those so-called...
Transaction rollbacks?
Transaction roll... No.
And the furniture pieces?
Furniture. That's what I was trying to say. There we got there, finally. Yeah, we found one of those furniture pieces, as we like to call them. And that is the Chandelier, which discards the transaction rollback, which is the most perfect discard you could ever find. Besides that, though, we're keeping it rather minimalistic and simple, to be honest.
We're setting to like it was 2010, and even then it was a suboptimal opening.
Oh, you know what's crazy though? Rio, usually in the Dark Lord deck, you're only using Herald of Orange Light. But Rio was like, well, I can actually just go beyond that even, and I will also bring in Herald of Green Light, which sadly only works on spell cards though, so it's not going to be of great use here against the Labyrinth deck. So... there's another Herald for trap cards as well. Why didn't we play that? Why didn't we anticipate the Labyrinth matchup? I'm disappointed.
There isn't even a single target, because yes, you can use it on the activation of Labyrinth, but that activation happens via effect, so you cannot even interrupt in that chain. But Rio is now matching the first turn of his opponent.
Nah, you gotta be kidding me.
I think the only monster he has that could be a starter is the Gulgalet, and that is the one that when it's sent to graveyard, searches a forbidden card. That's a forbiddenly terrible opening.
Yeah, I would agree. And Charalampos is going to activate the effect of his Arias there, and we are going to just use Arias to special summon, which is really something you so rarely see, but that is only to be done because we want to get big Welcome Labyrinth resolving and having a monster on the field before that ever gets activated, so we can bring out the Lovely. Lovely brings that Arias back into the hand, and now we will be able to use the effect of Lovely as well.
And I like doing that at the end of the main phase after so many cards were set, because they know each other's decks by now. He knows there is Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Crown, cards like these in the decks, and now Lovely, when those cards are set, is safe from Crown or Droplet for at least one turn. So we're destroying a card and we're hitting the Crown. That is already some good advantage, and now we have the Chandelier back in hand. I don't even think we are playing a Welcome Labyrinth, so this is either going to...
We are. There's one Welcome Labyrinth in there.
And I just realized that the Labyrinth is not activated from deck, it's just set from deck. Oh, there's the Welcome Labyrinth. So actually, I was absolutely wrong when I said it. You can negate the activation of the Labyrinth with the Herald of...
You're right.
What's going on now with my voice?
And I mean, here though, I think we have in that case Herald of Orange Light also in our hand, if I saw it correctly. And that could have been nice against the Lovely Labyrinth, but that was chain blocked, of course, with the Labyrinth Chandelier. And that is not that nice of a card to hit with it. So we got the Lovely Labyrinth through. And now that card already waiting face up on the field is massive, as we can set back another trap card. We can then also use the effect this turn again. We're just snowballing card advantage.
Also, don't forget, if your opponent responds to a Labyrinth effect, the Aria special summons itself from the graveyard. I don't know if that counts only for trap cards or if it's any Labyrinth card activation.
Pretty sure it's any. Pretty certain that's the case. So Welcome Labyrinth as a one-off is now here being activated. Rio checking on the graveyard effect of big Welcome Labyrinth there as well. Setup seems marvelous really here for Charalampos. We're not having many of those engine pieces for the Labyrinth deck, and I think like on the first couple of turns his setup is going to look very, very similar from what we could expect from a TCG constructed advanced version of the Labyrinth deck. But I think in the grind game, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because you just have less monsters in your deck because there is no ladies. You also have less copies in total of Welcome Labyrinth. And yes, while that is always setting itself back, still it's not amazing, for example, if the so popular DD Crow just all of a sudden takes one of those out. So there is a couple of things why that deck is a little less consistent, but it is still good enough apparently to make top 8 here.
Oh, and Rio is now considering perhaps a Forbidden Droplet. No, that is one of the Dark Lord trap cards. Discard the Gulgalet, and that is going to, I believe,
the Dark Lord Rebellion.
Destroy one card.
Yep, it is destroying something, absolutely. But wasn't that in response to a Labyrinth effect? Yes, it was. And you already explained that Arias was only waiting for that already in the graveyard, making sure that it can just come back from the graveyard for free.
Oh, that is huge. We are actually chaining the Droplet to that, so we can destroy a card for free. And a Droplet is sending a trap card, so not even Transaction Rollback could be chained to this, which would be a good way to bounce perhaps the Ariana. I wanted to say you could bounce the Lovely, but that doesn't really help you a lot. Having it in hand is worse than having it in the graveyard, in fact. Because you can just big welcome, copy from the Transaction Rollback and summon it back from the graveyard.
But that's just so many attack points. I think very clearly we're just going to negate the Lovely here. I don't know why we're thinking about it so long, because that's like the most obvious card that is still going to generate value here this turn. But the only... yeah, there it is. The... oh, we're destroying it as well. Okay, we're doing both with it. That's massive.
But Charalampos could still, in the battle phase, attack... Now I'm quite curious actually, because I think we have activated the Ariana. So don't we get a Search or the Destruction from the Lovely, depending on what we negated? Because I think there should still be the Search of the Ariana.
I mean, did we already met the requirement of Lovely? Have we activated? I think we never activated that, yeah?
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
so I think we are just getting rid of the Ariana effect with the Droplet.
The thing now is, we have the Transaction Rollback in the graveyard, and now we also have the Lovely in the graveyard.
Yeah.
So we can just bring it back with Big Welcome Labyrinth when we copy that effect with the Transaction Rollback, which is pretty promising, to be honest, because then we can get rid of one of those cards in hand, and that would be all we need, as Rio was already struggling to establish things.
And you get the Chandelier back, that is also massively helpful. So there is plenty of resources that you're generating from that. Also, of course, having the Lovely on the field means that your Big Welcome Labyrinth from the graveyard is going to be an extra interrupt, bouncing a card, while Rio is already not that happy with his resource game. Transaction Rollback is now being used, copies the Big Welcome Labyrinth for the mere cost of 4,000 life points, and we're gonna see our Lovely. And it is going to swing in for 2,900 after destroying a card on Chainlink 1. I believe Chandelier should be Chainlink 2, and that is just making me almost nostalgic.
Yeah, honestly, we have not seen that much Labyrinth lately in the advanced department, but here, seeing it in Genesys keeps me surprised, but still is going to lead to the destruction of the card we were mentioning that is so suboptimal against the deck that we're facing. There's a lot of spell cards in Genesys, but not in the deck of Charalampos.
And now in the main phase 2, what are we setting back with our Lovely? Because this card has, of course, another effect. But how impactful is this? I think you'd rather want to have the Big Welcome in the graveyard, just to bounce.
You can just set back the regular Welcome Labyrinth, that works.
But that card, as you said earlier, it doesn't really do too much.
Yeah, there's not many targets left in the deck. There is no Lady Labyrinth, there is no real threat to bring out with it.
This is, I think, after we hit the Herald of the Greenlight, the go time for Labyrinth.
Perfect timing.
And that is going to make the Welcome Labyrinth a lot more threatening, because that card also gets a pop.
Yep. Well done from Charalampos, revealing the cards to his opponent that are still known. Nice sportsmanship there, even though it's already set. He says, hey, here, I'm reminding you those two cards. You are aware of those two cards, you know. So almost all of the information here available to Rio, but how much can he make out of it with only 3 cards in total?
Yeah, his hand didn't look too great. I think he has X-Shell in his hand. I think he picked that up. Oh, but we are going in. And that is the Dark Lord Dance. That is the fusion of the deck, so you can fuse with monsters from your graveyard as well. Taking X-Shell and the Gulgalet. And that is the Morningstar.
Yeah, it is Morningstar indeed. That's actually, from what I was seeing there, from the potential still available, one of the best things we could have had here with only those 3 cards in total.
So we are close to popping off, actually. Hope at least. Or is it the Evening Star?
It is the Dark Lord Evening Star, yeah, you're very right. That is the one that we have just brought out, and that is going to set a Dark Lord spell trap from the deck.
Now the question is, does the Labyrinth effect target? Because this card cannot be targeted by card effects. Of course, non-targeting effects would play around that.
It doesn't target. It just says, hey, as an addition, as a nice little add-on and bonus for your trap cards, you can also just destroy another card on the field.
That is absolutely massive. If you take care of the Evening Star that way, you can just generate so much more value, especially because you have the Stovey Turby and the Chandelier in your graveyard already. So it feels like there's infinite resources on the side of Charalampos. But I mean, it's looking very, very good for him right now.
Look, I think Rio's asking the same question now that you were just asking. Can you just destroy the Evening Star with that? Is it targeting? And no, it's absolutely not targeting. But you can still use the quick effect of Evening Star, paying 1,000 life points, target a spell trap, to just also apply that effect and then shuffle it into the deck.
So what are we summoning out? We're sending out the Ariadne. That is, of course, a pretty cool card when you are removing something from the field as well. So I think that the Ariana is going to give you a draw. It's been a while since I've played.
You can definitely draw a card with it. That would be available to you here. But you smuggled a D into the name of our Ariane. It's not Ariadne. I was confused, but the Ariadne was the other one that was the counter trap related Ariadne.
Ooh.
Both trap related, funnily enough. Yeah.
True, the ferry. That was ages ago.
Yeah. Okay. Charalampos low on life points with 4,000 because we resolved transaction rollback, but seemingly more and more in control here of this match in top 8. He sneaked into top 8. He was 8th after Swiss. He lost in the last round against Rio, but he may be the one capitalizing big time here. Still working, of course, on his goal of getting to Japan, because I let you be reminded that first and second place actually here from our Genesys Championship are going to get travel and accommodation to the Jump Festa later on in the year in Japan.
And we're going to get, of course, another pop from that lovely effect. Stovey Toby wants to activate. Tributes itself and a discard, and that is absolute king backjack as well.
Wow.
Charalampos is not going to take any chances here, and he is putting his opponent in an absolute chokehold, setting up the next big one.
And Rio's had a spinning there with all those trap cards resolving, and it's really looking like perfect control. We're resolving the backjack now. Look at the top 3 cards of our deck. Stack them within the rules into the order we are desiring, and then we can just... But Rio, I love it, is just not conceding. He's like, hey, we have an untimed top cut here. I still have some very, very small hope here in this match. Let's play this out.
He's searching for the Gulgalet. I'm still sure I'm butchering this name.
No, I think Gulgalet was right.
So this card, when it's sent through the graveyard, like with the X-Shell, is going to give us a forbidden card.
But I think that was Jehuti that he searched, right?
No. He's going to draw 2 with the X-Shell, and now he's going to find a forbidden card.
I mean, they all have wings. They're all Dark Lords, so kind of hard.
But let's see. All of a sudden, Rio has 2 new cards in hand and a forbidden card, which is not on the forbidden and limited list, but it's just a card with the word forbidden in its name.
Transaction rollback.
But Charalampos still has some interactions. He still has the big welcome effect from the graveyard to bounce something, and of course the absolute king back jack. Wonder what the power plays are for the back jack here.
There is a couple in there. There is multiple options. One that definitely also was very popular in previous TCG Constructed Advanced lists, and that is the super... no, not super. It is a superb card, but simultaneous equation cannons could be there.
That is 9 cards on the side of Charalampos, and it's gonna be 3 on the side of Rio. So he's going to be at 12 cards, which means if you want to use the cannon, that equals...
Yeah, keep on talking, Leo. I'm following your words there.
That was a very easy way to make this math, and I used it when I played the deck on Master Duel a lot. However...
That is Jehuti now for sure, I'm certain.
Jehuti is a really good normal summon, immediately replaces itself, summons another monster. And now it just looks like Rio is actually starting to play the game here.
Does seem like it. There is no way. He had no saying in this entire game so far. It was all Charalampos. And now all of a sudden with just the 2 cards he's going to get going here, that would be a showcase of maybe Dark Lord being the best and undefeatable deck here in Genesys. So far it is undefeated, but can it stay that way?
Search for the Morning Star, of course, that is the main deck monster, not the Evening Star. And
of course.
Now has a lot more follow-up. Oh, this looks like an Exceeds play, and that is Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn.
Oh my!
And now things are getting crazy, but this is surely where you consider a big welcome, right?
And Dogmatica Punishment is also a good option to get rid of it, of course.
The question is, what can you now send to get rid of it? Oh, actually considering the Illusion monster. Is that a...
Oh, it's Berthelmate.
Berthelmate.
Yeah, it's Berthelmate, and Berthelmate actually is able to bring back a Fiend monster from the graveyard.
And Rio scooped it up, said, okay, this is one too many, I give up. And Charalampos with a dominating Game 1 victory.
Labyrinth, he found the way through the Labyrinth and is Rio playing with the camera there. Not happy with how that first game went, of course, but still enough time possibly for him to recover. And honestly, one thing that was mostly in the beginning when Genesys first was introduced that you could always be sure of was players being prepared for trap-related decks, for trap-heavy decks. Because in the beginning days, the Apophis deck was incredibly popular and so many people were playing it, so it was just natural that people were bringing the Twin Twisters, the Cosmic Cyclones and so on and so forth. Don't look at me like that with the Cosmic Cyclone mention, that people were playing all of those cards. And even though the Apophis deck is not very popular this weekend here anymore, I still feel like looking through all of those side decks here this weekend, there were a lot of Cosmic Cyclones and Twin Twisters overall.
Honestly, Apophis, not even a bad strategy if you're playing into Blitzkrieg, because Blitzkrieg can only destroy your cards, and as soon as you have Man of the Mark and the Temple of the Kings on the field, there's basically an absolute lock that you can't get out of. So that is very, very funny. But I don't even think that Cosmic Cyclone is so incredibly great versus the Labyrinth deck.
I mean, it's better than Mystical Spice Typhoon.
Of course.
Guess what? He's not playing Cosmic Cyclone, but Mystical Space Typhoon. Is there... What could be the reason for that?
Points.
Oh. Well, that's a pretty smart explanation there, Leo. Gotta give it to you.
I mean, sometimes decks also profit from destroying their own cards. There were times where in Sky Striker you were playing Mystical Space Typhoon over Cosmic Cyclone just because you could use it on your own Area 0 or on your own Sky Striker Mobilize Engage just to get drawing or get to summon out a ray from your deck. But I do not know if that is an application that you're having in the Dark Lord deck as well.
Possibly is. Sadly, there is no Heralds for the trap cards in his side deck. That could, honestly, that seems like a pretty fair side, just bringing in Herald of Purple Light as well, because that can then just against trap card related decks be super strong, as you can negate those powerful trap cards that Charalampos is trying to control the game with, but we do not have that available to us here in Rio's list.
So Mystical Space Typhoon has 0 points to its name.
Yeah.
Cosmic Cyclone has a whopping 1 point.
There you go. We didn't have those extra couple of points anymore. We were on the total already, and therefore Mystical Space Typhoon was the only thing we were left with. And then also there is Final Bringer of End Times in his side deck. Time for game 2 here in this top 8 encounter between Rio and Charalampos, where we saw the Greek taking down game number 1.
Can Rio fight his way back? Drawing 5 and starting the game is a good start if you want to do that, but there's of course this one incredible combination of cards that a Labyrinth can have to beat you, and that would be Arias plus something like a Daruma Karma Cannon or a Dogmatica Punishment. Some huge interruption.
All right, let's get this started. Players are ready. So here we have it. Ooh, interesting card in the multiple interesting cards in the opening hand of Rio, to be honest, because there is a real good starter there, Leo. Though, like you were already being like, oh, is there even a way to start? But yes, there is. Maybe the best starter of the deck, the Prohibited Power Patron Patrol Terminus or Portal Terminus, which is now sending the card to the graveyard, which has absolutely no relevance to that resolution, because we are just looking for a Dark Fairy here, which all of our Dark Lords are. So back to Jehuti we are.
Yeah, Jehuti is the best one-card starter in that deck, so you get quite the reasonable setup here.
Look at all of those Heralds of Orange Light still in there.
And we really love those forbidden cards, don't we?
Of course we do. They're crazy. Which one is it going to be here?
Love that we just decided which token we are going to use. And that is Cyrus on a token with a Roid.
It is.
We have seen
Leo here
before.
That is a cool tech card here in his deck as well. That is super duper polymerization, and we are going to use it in the way here, targeting the Golgolet to not only summon the monster out, but then also send the card to the graveyard and special summon the Evening Star on top of that.
It is such a good way to cheat out those difficult to summon cards and using them as fusion material.
Pretty strong. Good to see that that card has found a home in this Dark Lord deck now as well. Of course, I mean, it is a fusion deck at the end of the day, and it is a super duper polymerization, so we may as well.
Costs 2,000 life points though, so I mean that didn't stop players from playing cards like Instant Fusion that there was a life point cost. But this one, I feel like 2,000 is more of an investment than 1,000.
You
heard it here first.
Yeah. No, for sure. I do understand what you mean. That is the Sanctified Dark Lord that we are searching there as well. On top of things, immediately setting it onto the field. And that means that we can send the Dark Lord monster from hand or face up from the field to the graveyard to negate one effect monster until the end of the turn. But we get Leo, you talked about the life points. You can gain back life points with the Sanctified Dark Lord ban.
Perfect.
Yep.
Immediately
comes in handy.
Navigating your way out of the misery that you set yourself up for, which was going down to 6,000 life points. So Rio is just toying with his opponent, giving some hope. But we all know that in modern days Yu-Gi-Oh! Life points is more of a resource than ever.
Ooh, and he draws the Mystical Space Typhoon there, which we discussed is a little worse than the Cosmic Cyclone. But it really is not bad against Labyrinth at all. If you have a way to just target destruction, one of those spell and trap cards, and mostly trap cards in that case, is super strong.
I mean, just going first, I think he has 2 Final Bringer of the End Times and a Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yeah.
Need to check if Final Bringer of the End Times is a hard once per turn card.
It is.
Yes. So that is just popping 2 spell and trap cards in the end phase. That is absolutely massive.
It is, especially when some of them sometimes are being brought out by, for example, Chandelier or Stovey Torby, which is a huge investment to even get that one card onto the field. So having these ways here is real good. And I think it was insanely important for Charalampos that he did win game number 1, because post-siding there is just a lot of ways to deal with his trap cards here in the format and also in the deck of Rio.
But there's this one blowout card from the Labyrinth deck, and that is the Equation Cannon that we talked about briefly earlier. And that card can change games immediately. However, if you have a lot of interruptions, if you have a lot of ways of changing the number of cards on the field, you can make your opponent with the simultaneous Equation Cannon.
You can. You can, for example, use a Mystical Space Typhoon on your own card or on the simultaneous Equation Cannon. Then all of a sudden it is a different total and maybe you've been outplayed by that.
But also the final Bringer of the End Times, that gets rid of 2 cards. So that is immediately demathing the math. That is absolutely phenomenal. So you have different ways of beating the Labyrinth deck here and even the strongest of cards.
I mean, Leo, first game, Labyrinth 2 set cards. Now second game, Rio with 4 set cards. Who's the real trap card player here? To be fair, not all of them are trap cards. We discussed that at least 2 of them are spell cards with Mystical Space Typhoon and the final Bringer of End Times. But still, that is end phase, right?
It should be end phase, so that is a possible.
We're playing around possible set Mystical Space Typhoon and final Bringer of End Times, but if we kept one of those final Bringer of End Times here in our hand, that would be a perfect moment to use it here in the end phase.
But also I find it very, very interesting that he waited until the end phase with the Absolute Backjack discard, because the Absolute King Backjack allows us to find a trap card in the top 3 cards of our decks, and then we can actually immediately activate it. So that is basically, if you find the right cards, if you find something like a Daruma Karma Cannon, that could just stop the opponent's turn.
That's true. I'm with you on that. Interesting to see that he has decided to hold that until the very end of the turn.
Oh, do we have a Karma Cannon?
Oh, he just drew it. Or what?
No.
It is the Karma Cannon.
And that is going to get rid of the tokens completely, because this puts every single card when it's activated on the field face down, every single monster card, and the cards that cannot be flipped face down, like Link monsters, which does not matter in Genesis at all. Those cards will be sent to the graveyard via game mechanic. So that was always a really cool way to out something like the big Ed Ignister arrival.
This is massive. Rio now setting that fusion monster, as you explained, also getting rid of the tokens and then setting his last remaining monster. But there is, in the end phase now, the final Bringer of End Times, getting rid of his Jehuti, getting rid of the Welcome Labyrinth that Charalampos said. So it was good to get that.
Boy, that hurts.
Karma Cannon going, but still we have another Mystical Space Typhoon, we have another final Bringer of End Time, so not sure how much that ends up going to matter.
It is so good for him that he drew 2 final Bringer of End Times, because if he just had 1 and he set that 1, he couldn't have destroyed this Welcome Labyrinth, and that was the way for Charalampos to actually start playing. And now Rio is starting to diminish the back row. This card is going to destroy another card on the field. Gulgulet is also going to be let go, so you're going to get a forbidden card. This destroys the simultaneous Equation Cannon.
The Equation Cannon. We can just work through this step by step. There is not going to be any back row left for Charalampos when it goes to Rio's turn, I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
Because we have another Mystical Space Typhoon, as easy as it is. We have final Bringer of End Times. Look at this. Oh, but we do hit the Annihilate Retro Light, and Annihilate Retro Light, actually, when it is destroyed by the opponent's card effect, you can set another trap card from your deck. That's mental, that's crazy. How did we hit that one?
I mean we destroyed every single one, so I think the chances of that were rather high.
So it's actually, maybe it's good that we hit it before we activate the final Bringer of End Times, because now the card that is being set with this can at least also then be destroyed with the final Bringer of End Times.
Yeah, so we can choose, is this going to be something that is dangerous for me, or will I be able to ignore it and destroy the other card I do not know about? So sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh! Information is just everything.
He's not sure. Oh, I think he's considering Dominus Spark. A card, it ends up being Dominus Spark. A card I was surprised that he even had the points to bring that into his list here. And now Charalampos himself even checking, can I maybe activate this card immediately? But no, the card is not that crazy.
It is crazy, but you're right, not that completely crazy. Now, Charalampos knows that Rio also does not have that many monsters in hand. So a Dark Lord has just been searched. I think a Morningstar it was.
Yeah. And yeah, Leo, we've been mentioning it plenty of times throughout this weekend. Chaos Origins, quite a set, right? Another card from that set here with the Annihilate Retro Light.
Yeah, there were so many insane cards coming out in that set. It's really, really fun to watch how it affected the metagame. Now, Rio says, okay, the card that you just
the
openly
unknown
said...
card, okay.
Oh, Ice Dragon's Prison is actually very big.
It's huge.
And I mean, I think if Charalampos knew that there was going to be another removal for my back row, I would have said 2 Ice Dragon's Prison, because this card is really, really strong versus the Dark Lords.
Let me see whether he would have had that chance. In his deck, there is a grand total of 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. So yeah, he probably would have had the opportunity to do that. But clarifying what kind of resources are left in the graveyard there.
So the Domino Spark would actually be able to trigger the Chandrigly in the graveyard and the Welcome Labyrinth, because it just needs to remove a monster from the field. A trap card needs to remove a monster from the field, and that basically every single Labyrinth card under the sun can trigger and use additional effects.
Back to Rio, and we do go in with the banishment of the Dark Lords, and that is not banishing anything, but instead adding a Dark Lord monster from the deck to the hand. The reinforcement of the army for the Dark Lord deck, as easy as it is searching for another X-Shell.
And we can discard the X-Shell and the Morningstar to get 2 more draws, 2 fresh cards, while gathering more resources.
I think in Genesys, a lot of the decks have a problem with draw power, and they are not really good at drawing cards. This deck, though, is doing that very, very, very well. Oh, we're dancing, Leo. That is the Dark Lord dance.
Question now is, do we have even another... Oh, wait. If we summon the Evening Star, it cannot even be targeted by card effects. So Domino Spark actually a little helpless against that.
That's true.
So we have 2 very dark monster that are level 6 or higher. So that does work. And it looks like we are going to summon...
Yeah, just Evening Star again. Yeah. There it is, of course. Once again, pretty much the only fusion monster that time and time again Rio has gone into. And you can't target it, as he just explained it, very first sentence of the card.
Yeah, that is a strong boss monster. I love it when decks have these really characteristic boss monsters.
Oh, but now maybe we're going to see something else now, because the Evening Star is being used to copy the Dark Lord dance. So we are fusion summoning one more time, and there is the first Dark Lord still sitting in the graveyard. So that could be a real big fusion monster that we're about to bring out here.
Are we summoning the first Dark Lord? There it is.
Yes, let's go.
So, what can the first Dark Lord do?
Well,
win the
no
game.
fairy monsters at all can be targeted anymore next to itself, and therefore the last remaining card there for Charalampos, the Domino Spark, not able to do anything anymore. And oh, Rio likes that. His friends and the crowd applauding him, cheering him on. He is still in this, and he is going into a game 3 here against Labyrinth, where we saw that he has all the tools available in his side deck, and he's of course also in game 3 are going to be using those mystical space typhoons, those final bringer of end times, and maybe even more than that. So he is feeling confident to make things happen here.
But you can see in Charalampos' deck there is Magic Deflector, and that is a card that really plays well around those quick play spells. So it is much easier to dismantle a field of Labyrinth cards, of set cards, when it is still the end phase of that turn.
Yeah.
So if you have to already set already activatable trap cards, use Mystical Space Typhoon, that isn't really hitting the spot that much anymore.
Magic Deflector is big. Chain to a Mystical Space Typhoon or chain to the final bringer of end times, that can be very tough.
The good thing for Rio is, of course, that his engine does not really have a lot of equipped field continuous or quick play spells.
Absolutely.
It's rather just the non-engine. So that is a trade-off I think he would be even fine to take if you have a Mystical Space Typhoon and, for example, a Final Bringer of End Times, because they are quick play spells. You use the first one, then Magic Deflector gets chained, and then you still get rid of the other one. You can still use that, and then you're going to still, after all, get rid of 2 of the trap cards.
Yeah, but if we have both of them, I think there is some argument to be made that the Mystical Space Typhoon may be used first, already without having a monster on the field. So You know, and when
Yeah.
you don't have a monster on the field, then all of a sudden the final bring of end times cannot be activated anymore. So maybe Rio has to already in his head consider the factor that there could be magic deflector and therefore already go, for example, for a normal summon of the Jehuti, as we have seen plenty of times by him.
Charalampos is now siding his cards out. And we are getting ready for that last game.
All right, we're about to be ready, so why don't we go into game 3? Here we are, both players smiling, understandably so, with them already making the huge accomplishment of reaching top 8 here, and that also comes, of course, with some good pricing. They already have secured, even if they lose here, a complete set of Blazing Dominion, excluding the Starlight Rares. On top, also a complete set of Battle of Legends Glorious Gallery, and then another, or Gallery, rather, Gallery, and then 24 booster packs from recent sets as well.
So let's see, are we going to have a set 4? Are we going to play with some engine? What's it gonna be? That is a Ariane, and Ariane is a pretty nice start. Okay, we took it back and then we summoned it again. So I think what we just did is clarify that we are actually going to main phase.
No, I think we're still dancing. I think that is still the aftermath of the Dark Lord dance that was activated in the last game. So it's like you gotta do it in like a fancy way.
You're bouncing the cards without having Big Welcome activated. However, Big Welcome would be a pretty nice...
We're not using it.
Wow.
We're not using the Ariane.
We're just sending it with Ariane.
Okay. Oh. What's the upside of that? Yeah, you can send from the field. I'm just wondering what's... I mean, it doesn't matter really, but we are just sending the Big Welcome Labyrinth from the field here instead of just sending it from the hand straight away. But Ariane is resolving. We know in Genesys the hand interaction is not very strongly represented, so that will oftentimes resolve. But now Charalampos is thinking himself, what am I even going to bring out with this?
Yeah, and I think it's most of the time just Ariana.
Yeah. Gotta be.
Because, and now bear with me, you can overlay them for a Ring 4 Exceeds.
And what could that be?
That would be...
Exciting Night.
Yeah, that was actually my last Labyrinth deck, the card that I got out, because then you bridge into the Fiendsmith engine. I do not think that is going to be possible.
Well, will be hard. There also is the...
King Backjack.
Oh, you can do that?
I don't...
That's crazy.
I did not know that was possible.
You can special summon level 4 lower Fiend Monster from your deck in defense position. That is absolutely possible.
Oh, and we are
very strong.
Wow, we're using the Big Welcome. We can't bounce anything from our opponent's side.
That's crazy. Triggering the Ariane with that as well to special summon a Fiend Monster
from hand.
Or set a spell trap.
And draw a card, but I think that we have the Ariana in hand already, so we just added ourselves a free Absolute King Backjack. That was so sick.
What a crazy loop that was from Charalampos. He took his time to find that move, but actually insanely well executed, because now we can just search for either the Chandrily or the Stovey Torby to then discard that Backjack. What a play from Charalampos here in top 8. He is ready to take it all down, and he's ready to be the first one to finally beat Rio here in this tournament.
I didn't know that Labyrinth was a combo deck, because this was really sick. You're setting up these immediate interactions. Also with the Stovey Torby, more resources. You are going straight for the Welcome Labyrinth. We have another Big Welcome in hand. Another option would have, of course, been the good old Labyrinth. Maybe playing around the Herald of Greenlight.
Maybe. He's the absolute king, Backjack, and he will be able to look at the top 3 cards. Oh, one more? And Charalampos carefully is going to put them back in the same order that they were in. Interesting.
Okay, if someone likes his top decks, that's fine.
Good enough.
More and more cards. Oh, only 2. I think the entire hand was very much red, but you're keeping 1 card in hand. What does that mean?
Maybe it is Transaction Rollback, and Transaction Rollback really is not a trap card that you want to set, but rather want to discard when the Stovey Torby comes back. That would be an explanation.
I think versus specifically the Dark Lord deck, there is a good argument to be made to actually
they have trap
set,
cards.
because
You're
they
right.
have some nice removal in their trap cards, and sometimes they just get sent to the graveyard so that Evening Star can copy it. But we're starting off with the Searcher for the Dark Lord deck, the Banishment. Getting an
the
Ixchel.
Dark Lords and Ixchel. It's always Ixchel, isn't it? Like Ixchel left, Ixchel right, drawing 2 cards has been always the most powerful thing to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pot of Greed says hello, but in new ways here in the Dark Lord deck.
I mean, Ixchel is also super old. I think the card is from 2017.
Ooh, let me fact check that, Leo. Let me fact check that.
Because I remembered playing versus the deck when I played Paleozoics at a tournament.
Yeah. So Dark Lord Ixchel was first introduced in 2016, actually.
Oh, even older.
Pretty close, yeah. Pretty close, though. Good call. All right, we do get the Gogolet into the graveyard. And looks like we are aiming for Dark Lord Dance. Yup, still dancing time.
But what does Charalampos have? Because he has had struggle interrupting his opponent in the first game. Honestly, it looked like Rio was going to push through it. But this time around, I think he has a lot more non-engine. That's really what you're aiming for.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. And what will... Oh, we're preemptively activating the Welcome Labyrinth here. That, in my opinion, can only mean that we're trying to get the lovely Labyrinth already onto the field.
Yeah.
And we probably also have then the big Welcome Labyrinth set up. And the top card that we were ready to keep, and absolutely understandably so, is the Ice Dragon's Prison, which now can be set and most importantly also be used this turn.
Ice Dragon's Prison is so incredibly good versus decks that have the same typing. So you can choose a card from their graveyard, a monster card, special summon it to your side, and then if your opponent has a card of the same type on their field, you can banish both of them. So if your opponent wants to use cards from the graveyard, target cards in the graveyard, or has resources in the graveyard, you can steal those resources, banish them, and also take monsters from the field.
It's insane. It has been one of the craziest Labyrinth cards back in the day, and it still is to this day, at least in the Genesys format. Okay, we're going to get that Arias into the hand now as well with the big Welcome Labyrinth. And we're taking a step here. Chainlink 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. That's where you know that Labyrinth is having a good time. Drawing another card with the Ariane.
Oh, I think we're cutting the deck one more time. It has not... we just resolved that. We just cut that deck. That is fine. But very, very cool interaction also by knowing that he can get to an Arias later in the turn, keeping that one trap in hand. So even if it is a transaction rollback or you found something cooler that you might want to activate, Arias is going to be able to allow you to.
Lovely. How many cards in hand? 6, 7. So we are getting the Gogolet out of the hand, which is not necessarily the one we were trying to aim at, because I saw there's, for example, the Final Bringer of End Times in his hand, which could be used against that just discussed Ice Dragon's Prison.
Gogolet, not the card that you want to snipe out of, but the Final Bringer of End Times. Yeah, you're right. It actually, but it is not targeting, I don't think. So even if you destroy one of your monsters, if you have 2, like with Jehuti, you can still get rid of the other card.
I think they are targeting. Let me double check though. Let's see.
You can banish one monster from both players' fields.
Oh, you mean the Ice Dragon's Prison? Oh, yeah, you're right. But the I was thinking rather of the Final Bringer of End Times, because
that does target.
Would be targeting a monster you control or a card your opponent controls. So you can like, yeah, you can still get some value out of the Ice Dragon's Prison. I see what you mean, yeah. As long as we do have 2 monsters on the field. And we do have that now. So there's a little gift now from Rio, because he is summoning that Dark Lord over to his opponent's side, giving him over that Dark Lord Nastin.
It is also crazy that he has found a Daruma Karma Cannon in the process of this turn. So Arias is going to have huge impact, unless the other card that was set before, that is set in the middle spell and trap zone, is also a Daruma Karma Cannon.
That's true.
We keep just resorting to this Minerva. And I mean, wait. You cannot use Ice Dragon's Prison now since the gift.
Oh, why is that?
Because you can't summon a monster for your zone.
You're right. That gift looked weird in the first place. But actually there is no free zones, but there still is the Stovey Torby on the field, able to possibly clear one zone.
You can always use the Stovey Torby as Chainlink 1. It reminds me a little bit of Sky Striker Ace Ray when you have your main monsters.
Totally. It's basically the same, just without link monsters.
You tribute it away and then you can play all of your cool cards.
Of course, Stovey-Torby,
yeah,
for the people
and
wondering, is not only able to use its effect in the hand, but also while on the field. Oh, does Charalampos see that though? Oh yeah, he does, of course.
Pretty sure.
He is in the top 8 of this Genesys Championship. He's one of the 8 finest Genesys players of all of Europe, so obviously he will see that line, but... Oh!
Let's say the Daruma Karma Cannon, but that is a lot of monster.
And we're chaining the Stovey-Torby, understandably so, of course.
That does make sense, but I think Daruma Karma Cannon is not even once per turn, right?
Nope, it's not. Absolutely isn't.
So the other one from hand can be so incredibly strong later on. I think even though Rio has so many cards in hand, the pushes of the deck are somewhat limited. So if you have to play through a Ice Dragon's Prison plus a Daruma Karma Cannon, if Charalampos takes his time with the interruptions, he's going to be able to stop his opponent. I cannot see a way in which you win through this field.
Are we still chaining? Oh yeah. We're also immediately activating the effect of Arias here. And I like that because getting the Arias into the graveyard as quickly as possible, of course, also possibly enables us later on to use the graveyard effect of it to bring it back onto the field. But let's not do that very early because we want to make sure that our Ice Dragon's Prison can resolve before that.
I felt like the Arias was a discard for Stovey-Torby. Just happened very, very late. Because it would have resolved as the first thing, right? Because it would be the last piece on the chain link. So I think we might have another Arias in hand.
Maybe we do. Final bringer of end times now. And this is where the Ice Dragon's Prison is not getting any value at all because there is no other face-up monsters on the field anymore. And therefore, yes, we're getting to special summon. Congratulations, that's an X-Shield for free for Charalampos, but we can't banish anything with it.
That is huge. So Rio, with this final bringer of end times, getting tremendous value out of this. Even though you can chain almost all of these good trap cards, sometimes that is just not enough. Because right now, this doesn't really do a lot. It just takes away one of the resources from your graveyard.
I'm wondering, didn't Minerva also have like an effect when being destroyed or something? Yeah, if this card is in its owner's possession, is destroyed by an opponent's card effect. So we gave that up our own here, so that won't trigger.
Oh, wait a second. I think Rio also has a Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion in hand. That would have been another way to play around the Ice Dragon's Prison.
True, but we didn't care now.
Yep, we go for the Dark Lord Dance.
Let's get that party started.
Oh, we can also use the X-Shell.
Of course. We can do that, and we're going to use it together with the Gogolette to go into that Dark Lord Evening Star again. Yeah, I mean, Dark Lord Dance clearly says you can also use Dark Lord monsters your opponent controls as material, which is hilarious that Charalampos actually gave it overdone.
Yeah, but it also makes sense because there are some cards that you can just special summon to your opponent's side of the field.
That's how the whole deck works. Now we're copying it again. Do we just now also use the second monster that we gave them?
You are an absolute menace. The first Dark Lord is being summoned as well. And if you have used the Morningstar, I think you get to blow up the entire field of your opponent. That is looking marvelous for him.
This is crazy. He's not going to go through all of this, is he? You gotta be kidding me. That was like the biggest Labyrinth field I've seen in the wild.
There's no Arias in the hand anymore. He really just discarded the Arias, thinking that he's going to go through this turn anyway. So that looks like Rio might actually close this game out. Right now he has 7,700 attack points on the field.
Yeah, I think Rio might be the Dark Lord himself as he goes into the battle phase. That's not quite enough just yet. It actually is Rio going second, 12-0 so far in the tournament. Still stays undefeated and is now into top 4.